So, hello Year 9. I'm here to talk to you about why you might be considering taking GCSE Geography as an option next year. So, first of all, a little quiz for you. What do all these people have in common? Now, I was wondering about whether or not to put this up because they all actually have geography degrees, but I thought maybe some of those characters might put you off. So please don't be put off by them, but it's just to show you that all kinds of people love geography. Okay, so following along on those lines, why should you choose GCSE Geography? A great geographer, Michael Palin, believes that it holds the key to all the world's problems, geographers. So I think, obviously I'm very biased, but I think it is a really interesting topic. I think it is really, really relevant to the issues that you come into contact with day after day. So just this week, for example, the Turkey earthquake in Izmir, that's just happened and we're just about to start studying hazards with our Year 11 geographers. So they have an up-to-date case study when we're talking about the impacts of an earthquake. They're seeing it on the news, they're reading it every day. Similarly, we just had a typhoon in the Philippines, and the impact of that is huge on the LIC country, the low-income country that it is. And again, it's something that you can use in your exam at the end of Year 11, and you'll remember it because you've been through it. It's current, it's relevant, and we study all of these issues as part of geography. It's why it's such a fascinating subject. The other reason for thinking about doing geography is that you will pick up a lot of transferable skills. So there's a list of them there on the screen, but there's things like your literacy. You get marked on your literacy, so we have to promote literacy. Numeracy, you're going to be analysing data, you're going to be drawing graphs, you're going to be looking at maps. All of these are skills that you can use in whatever job or whatever career you do when you leave school. So it's a useful subject to have. It's also an EBAC subject, which means that universities and employers have high regard for it. It's not essential that you do an EBAC suite of subjects, but it can be useful. And also, obviously, as teachers, we love our subjects, but you should choose GCSE Geography because you love it as well. If you're enthusiastic and you enjoy this subject, then you're going to work harder in it, and you hopefully will really enjoy it. Okay, so it's really important that you're enjoying the lessons in Key Stage 3, and you can see that they would be interesting to carry on with. Okay, so what do you actually study? So the course is broken down into three elements and 3 papers. So the first paper is a physical environment, and you can see a list of the topics there. So we go over tectonics because loads of students love earthquakes, volcanoes. So we go over those again, and we do them in more detail and look at case studies in more detail and try to get into more of the evaluative skills of, it's the impact of an earthquake greater in an LIC than in an HIC, a high income country. We also have a look at tropical revolving storms. We have a look at climate change. What's the theory behind it? Is it actually happening? Are you an optimist or are you a pessimist? These are things we will discuss. We look at coasts in the UK. Now, most of you did that in Year 7, so it's a topic that you know a little bit about, but we pick it because we live next to the coast, so you can see wave erosion in action locally, and it works really well. Students tend to understand it, they get it because, again, it's relevant, it's current, it's up to date, and it's local. Glacial landscapes in the UK, not quite so local. Obviously, we weren't covered by ice during the last glaciation, so you've got to go a bit further afield. We've got to do some virtual field trips, so you can imagine what parts of the Lake District was like covered in ice, Scotland covered in ice. But again, it's interesting and it's unusual for you. It's something you haven't really come across before. Ecosystems is looking at the world's biomes, so looking at the large biomes, and in particular we focus on the tropical rainforests and the cold environments, so the Arctic and the tundra. Again, more global topics, but ones that are very popular in the media at the moment, being discussed. And the orangutan in the video there is under threat because tropical rainforests are being cut down in Malaysia. And that's been in the news for the last 12, 18 months. So, you're always going to be able to find information about these issues and these topics in the news, in the media, and hopefully that will make it more interesting for you and easier to remember as well. Okay, the human environment is the second paper. So this looks at the urban world, so looking at cities, megacities. We've done a little bit of megacities in year 9 so far, so looking at megacities again. The development gap, so that's why some countries are low-income countries and some are high-income countries. What's the difference between them? Why have some countries remained poor and others become very wealthy? Nigeria is looking at a newly emerging economy. Now that's a country which is kind of between the two. So it's not a low-income country, it's not a high-income country, but it's becoming wealthier. It's becoming a country with a higher standard of living for its people. So why is that? What makes it an emerging economy? And Nigeria is a part of a continent that we haven't really studied a lot of at Key Stage 3. So it's a new area, fascinating country to have a look at. Then we look at the changing UK economy, because obviously you need to know about the place in which you live. So that's looking at how industry has changed, how transport is developing. And it sounds a little bit drier maybe than the physical. But actually, again, a lot of the issues really, really important. So the north-south divide, why is the north poorer and the south richer? So there are lots of issues that you can discuss with your teacher in lessons, and again, current and up to date. And then finally, a really important one is water resource management. Obviously, if the world hasn't got enough water, or if a country hasn't got enough water, then it can lead to conflict. And how do we ensure that we have enough water, particularly in the UK, but also we look at case studies around the world, like Lesotho, for example, and how they are getting water from one area to another in order to make sure that people are not going without. Okay, so the third paper is then all about geographical skills. And I put these photos on to remind me. The top one is our year GCSE students climbing Mount Vesuvius when they went to Naples a couple of years ago. And there is a theme with all of these pictures. You can tell that when we go on field trips, the weather is not generally very nice. So just be prepared. But we do some local field trips to Bude for your fieldwork option for paper 3. And if we're allowed to, we'll try and get a residential study abroad in as well. I don't know when that will be possible. On top of that, the rest of the paper is then about using those skills. So we learn more map skills. You look at graphicacy, so interpreting graphs and what they mean and being able to draw them. And then obviously field work. So you develop a question, you carry out the method, you find your results, and you analyse your conclusions. A little bit like a science experiment, but using a geography issue. Okay, so how will I be assessed? Now, unlike the travel and tourism, the BTEC, the geography GCSE is 100% examinations. So you will have 3 exams, and you can see their lengths there. And it's a mixture of questions, so it suits all abilities. If you're a grade 2 or 3 student, you will find that there will be multiple choice questions that you can answer. There will be short answer questions that you can answer. And there will be what we call resource stimulus questions that you can answer. The longer answers might be hard, but if you can pick up 2 or 3 marks on those questions, then you will be fine. For those of you that are aiming for the 8s and 9s, this is a real opportunity for you to shine, because the long mark questions are where you can pick up an awful lot of marks. So it really is a differentiated exam, so that we can get a range of grades. Obviously, we're hoping you're all going to do really well, but it's suitable for nearly all of you. You also will get marked on SPAG. So throughout the GCSE, you will find that your teachers are picking you up for literacy, for grammar, for spelling, and punctuation, because you don't want to lose any marks. You're competing against the rest of the country when you're in those exams, and you want to pick up every single mark that you can. You don't want to lose a mark because you've forgotten to put in full stops. Okay. So we're quite hot on our literacy, but you know that from Key Stage 3. Okay, so asking GCSE geographers, what did they say? Okay, was it fun? A lot of them said some topics are better than others. Understandable. Is it hard? Yes, but all your GCSEs are hard. And are you glad you took it? And yes, and we have a lot of students that go on to do geography at A level. We've got 2 groups at A level, and they have loved it. All right, so yeah, it might be a bit challenging. There's a lot of content, but there are also lots of skills. And remember, the exam is variable, so you haven't got lots of long answer questions that you're going to struggle with. There's some multi-choice, there's some short answers, etc. And remember, it's also on topics that are in the news every day. So even if you can't remember one case study, there's likely to be another one that you will be able to remember. You can use your local environment. Okay, but generally we have 4 groups currently in year 10, we have 4 groups in year 11, and everyone enjoys it. Okay, so what can I do with the geography qualification? I think the answer is really anything, because you have learned so many skills, and geographers are so skilled in lots of different areas, that it says there, you know, geographers can do most jobs. When I was at university, most of my geography colleagues ended up doing accountancy, okay, because they had the skills, they could analyse data, and a lot of them ended up doing that. We ended up with some town planners, we ended up with some weather forecasters, and we've just had a year 13 student who's gone off to do international disaster management at university after her A levels. Now, that is amazing. So there are all sorts of jobs you can do. I think it does, the subject does lend itself to lots of different jobs. So it's a good all-round GCSE to have. Even if you're not thinking of carrying on with it at A level, you're going to develop skills which are going to be useful to you later on. Okay, now that's most of what I wanted to say. If you want to find out a bit more information, on the left-hand side of the screen there is the syllabus. So we do AQA, it's the GCSE Geography, and the specification is 8035. So you can go onto the AQA website and you can have a look through. There are some short videos there about the subject, and you can find out a little bit more about the topics if you want to. And then obviously you have the 5 of us in school, so the 5 geography teachers in school, and we will be there to answer any questions that you have regarding whether or not you should take the subject, what's in the subject. So I have some subject sheets with content on them so that you can find out a little bit more about the topics. So please come and ask us if you're interested. And definitely it's worth a consideration. You know, you've done it for 3 years. If you've enjoyed it, if you've enjoyed the lessons, you know how well we structure our lessons. You know that the assessments are always linked to the work that you've done in lessons. And that's how we can be successful. But it has to be a team effort. So it has to be us working hard, you working hard. And if you like the subject, you will work harder and you will be more successful. Okay, so fingers crossed that you all pick geography next year. But whatever you do, I would say do the subjects that you really enjoy. Okay, any further questions, like I said, come and ask. But good luck with your option choices, and please come and see me.